truck, huh? Yeah, fuck it, why not? Take me to my father, brother, uncle, Kiflon.
Yo, peace, brother.
Kiflum.
Oh,
Kiflon.
really? Oh!
Yo, what's good? It's your boy Whispy Woodz. And this is a continuation of why retro gaming is important, episode 2.88. Now, I'm going to kind of breeze past a lot of different information here, and I'm going to do it quite fast so that we can get to some of the more important clues that have to do with, once again, why cinema and a lot of the things that we have been looking into within the mystery, no different than music or even video games and even history, and why they all conform into one thing as to tell us certain things, and why Rockstar is pointing us into this direction. Now, without ranting on too much into what I've always been saying, into, the pathway, I want you guys to understand something, okay? The first mission when it comes to the Epsilon program, they actually set you on a pathway to see certain things, but one of the first few things that you see is a red truck. Now, without going too far into the past as to what the red truck represents here, it's a big part of, once again, inversion, why they show us red trucks from the beginning, but also the color red and why it inverts from red into Epsilon blue. Now, not only this, the fact is that they're clearly showing us an implication as to why the HD universe, once again, is connected to the 3D universe, okay? In GTA San Andreas, all right, the red truck is mentioned by the Epsilon cult and the official website, okay? And it explains basically how you can get into the cult when it comes to this truck. And it basically tells you to, travel through the dawn and look at the red truck with a dent and, it being messed up on its right fender. Now, the point of really looking at this red truck, okay, aside from looking at the color inversion and so on and so forth, was to understand, once again, a big part of the saddler here, okay, which is something that we have looked up in the mystery before. And it has a big part to do with William Sadler and why we needed to understand a big part of the Your Rancher book.
Pay attention to here is Mr. N. Bison. Now, I want you guys to understand not necessarily him from a vantage point of his character, but from an understanding of who portrayed Mr. Bison here.
I want you guys to realize, though, that in GTA 5, the truck is not a Sadler, okay? That was the truck in GTA San Andreas. In GTA 5, the truck was a Bison, okay? Now, in my previous episode, I pretty much brought up a lot of relevancies as to why we need to pay attention to Street Fighter, okay? They show this implication numerous times. Now, the point is, you guys, is that Bison, okay, once again, Bison leading into Adam's family and even the Lurcher car is only showing us more implication as to why not only Street Fighter is relevant, but why the movie is relevant in its entirety. Now, once again, you guys, Street Fighter, okay, a 1994 film. Now, I need you guys to realize that this film is a lot more relevant than we understand for more reasons than one. Not only for segregation reasons within Jean-Claude Van Damme, but within, once again, understanding that Bison, okay, was a big part of segregating and understanding a clue. But what really got us to Street Fighter in the first place was a character simulation of someone specific. And that was Mr. Ryu, and or within the movie, played by Mr. Byron Mann. Now, when it comes down to it, you guys, we're going to go a tad bit deeper into the right way. And this, be it Mr. Byron Mann. Now, he has played a lot of different things in different movies and even different shows. But he's known for, once again, Street Fighter and even his roles within Pacific Blue, okay? Now, he, once again, is tied to a lot of different clues that tie into the mystery here. Even when looking at a film that he was in called A Stranger in Paradise. Okay, once again, tying into universal clues that we need to understand from the very beginning. Strangers in Paradise. Even when we catch the arrow segregating and rearranging truth, we understand things that we didn't to understand from the very beginning. But there's a specific thing that I want you guys to pay attention to here, and that is a show that he was in called The Unit. Now, early on in the game, you guys, aside from the prologue, Franklin actually has a few missions that we need to take care of, and those missions include repossession. Now, repossession, the mission itself, actually implies you to get one vehicle, and out of all of the vehicles in the game, they choose this specific vehicle, and it is called the Bagger. Now, far be it for me to know why they would have, him have a motorcycle, or for any reason other than him just wanting a motorcycle. I'm not going to bring more relevancy into this or not. The fact is that what I'm going to point out is that the Bagger, okay, was chosen. Okay, they could have given us any motorcycle, you guys. I want you to pay attention to that. They could have given us literally any motorcycle they wanted us to have, but they gave us this specific one. Now, I want you to pay attention to the fact that this specific motorcycle, all right, is based on the 2013 Harley-Davidson Touring Road Glide Custom, okay? Now, yes, that was a mouthful, but it is based purely on that model of Harley-Davidson. Now, the reason why I am pointing that out, you guys, is because this model of motorcycle was to be paid attention to in more forms than just its video game self, but within a duality of its real life counterpart. Now, what I mean by that is that this specific make and model of Harley Davidson has been shown and showcased in a few different forms of media, whether movies or TV shows. But surprisingly enough, not that many shows and movies have actually featured this motorcycle. But the few that have actually have something to do with either our path or entries into GTA. Now, the point here is, you guys, is to stay focused as to why they're showing us certain chains of clues here. Okay? Now, the first clue, all right, is tied to a show that Herbalist 40 has brought up, and that is The Mentalist, okay? This specific vehicle and or motorcycle has been featured in all of these shows, okay? Even this music video called Super High by Rick Ross. It's also been featured in Raising Hope, okay? Another TV series, and even Pokemon. Very, very interesting. But that's neither here nor there. Let's stay focused. It's even been featured in a show called Meteor Storm, okay? Even Ride Along, all right? And even in a show called The Unit. Very, very interesting. When we start to solidify certain clues within our path, such as common denominators, there are certain things that are implicated once again throughout the game that we need to understand, whether it be unicorns or even the color blue or its inversion, or even the fact that dilapidation and baldness have to do with a lot of the clues. The fact is here, you guys, is that a unit, okay, regardless of how we wanted to look at any of the clues, okay, a unit literally was staring us in the face. And when we see that a unit, all right, is pointing us into the same clue numerous times, we need to understand the importance of this specific clue. So let's start understanding and going a bit deeper. Now, once again, throughout the mystery, I brought up a lot of different universal clues, and I know that it's quite hard remembering exactly all of them on one blatant list, but the fact is that that's what makes this mystery so elusive and so hard to actually understand for a certain few. And that's how they knew they were going to actually confuse a lot of people. Now, realize 1988, or even 88 in general, is tied to 8 and even the mirroring of 8. But those in themselves are three different understandings of one element, and that is 8. And not to mention even looking at 8 as it being a symbol for infinity. The fact is here, you guys, is that 69, okay, is a sexual reference, but it's also a number tied to a date that we needed to understand, okay? The fact is that even when it's tied to 1969, it's even tied to elements of segregation and rearranging, like the times between this series, that is 2006 and 2009, okay? In between these years is exactly when this series actually ran. Now I want you guys to understand, the unit follows a covert team of special forces operatives that risk their lives on undercover missions around the globe while their families maintain the home front, okay? Part of the show's focus is the effect that the group's missions have on the guys' wives and girlfriends. That's very interesting because that's somewhat a lot of what goes on within the game, and why different missions and the things that Franklin and Michael do change the outlooks of their girlfriend and their wife. But that's neither here nor there. We're not going to look at it within that retrospect. I want you guys to understand the clues that we have known forth within our universal outlook and our universal path. When it comes down to it, the unit was to be understood for many of its stars, okay? And that's whether looking at segregations of names that we have already noted within the mystery to be relevant, like Dennis the Menace, and why the segregation of Dennis would have took us right back into an element of the mystery once again, okay? Now I want you guys to realize, all right, some of the main actors within this series itself actually starred throughout the series in 69 episodes, okay? Now, once again, you guys, that's quite a coincidence that between 2006 and 2009 that they would actually be in 69 episodes. Now, again, it's not that the show is being dictated by Rockstar, it's that Rockstar paid attention to a lot of the different clues that were ran in this same process, in the same algorithm, okay? And even when it comes down to names like Great Scott, okay? Mr. Scott Foley. Now, I want you guys to understand something. There's a lot of reasons why I bring up different movies and so on and so forth, and I've already shown you in the previous episode why movies have to do with a big part of this entire game and the entire mystery, but I need you guys to realize that it's also tied to stars just the same. They care a lot about stars because stars are exactly what made their films, okay? But within this, we're going to take a look at some of the more universal clues that once again keep coming the fuck up. And this man is tied to law and fucking order, okay? Now again, this is not a fucking coincidence, alright? I just got us to this specific Scott, okay, through a list of clues within a process of understanding the clues that we have learned thus forth, only to get back into the truth that we have known thus far, okay? Meaning the progress has not halted, alright? It is the right process. Now, that's neither here nor there, alright? Understand, when we see elements of blue, once again, you guys, we cannot ignore them. We need to understand that within relevancy, this is a common denominator, blue, once again, okay? And going within a lot of the different clues and or stars within this specific show, like Malcolm Jamal Warner. Now, if you're wondering why I actually brought this guy up and, you know, if this is kind of going a bit too far, I want you guys to understand we're going to do a bit of understanding our source material, okay, and a bit of our path before. Now, understand, within a big part of our Great Scott series, we have learned that Fred's pictures is a big part of understanding a segregation clue that leads to Fred Savage. Now, Fred Savage leads into a lot of different clues that have to do with, once again, Disney. Now, Disney, okay, ties right back into the elements of the shows that Fred Savage has produced. Now, once again, he has produced a litany of different shows, but one of those shows leads us right back into Raven Simone, okay? Tying us into not only a bird, but an aspect of a thought process that ties us into looking into the future, okay? Within the show's concept. Now, the point is here, you guys, is that we just got right back into a source of the answers here through what we're looking at today. So we need to understand we are on the right track, and that's how we prove a bit of our source material. Now, what I mean by that is testing a bit of what we have learned with a bit of what we are learning right now and measuring it by how much it correlates with one another, but why it brings us into progress as to what we are looking for. Now, this is a big part of what I mean. Mad Dog, once again, okay? Something that we have looked up in our line of research, but something that is repetitive, that they keep showing us, okay? Because even when we move with Franklin, they still imply us to pay attention to Mad Dog. As you can see once again, okay, Mad Dog. Now, when it comes down to looking at the voice character for this character, we've looked at him before, and once again, it's Ice-T. But there's a reason why we're looking at Ice-T, and I need you guys to understand just how intertwined these different clues actually are. No different if we were going to look deeper into Ice-T, or if we were going to look deeper into the subject matter that we were already looking at. Okay, we could go back and look at something that we've already known to be relevant in the mystery, like Ice-T, or we can continue with what we are learning today. But either way, I'm going to show you that it's going to lead to the same amount of understanding. When it comes down to it, once again, this man Ice-T has done a lot, and I mean, like, way too much. I mean, he's done music, movies, TV shows. He's literally almost done it all. But I think a big part of what we need to understand here is that he starred in a lot of different things, but one of the few things that he really starred in that, you know, was really his breakout role, okay, was actually in New Jack City, where he played Scotty, okay? Now, the point here, all right, is that we're bringing elements of understanding, okay, segregation and understanding Scott, okay, to understand a bit of clues here, all right? New Jack City, once again, understanding a segregation of an anagram. Jack Sheep servicing trimanifold R108, okay? These things are going to tie into aspects of the mystery that we need to pay attention to, dealing within understanding names and the segregation of these names, okay? Whether dealing with Alan or even a snipe, okay? The point is here, you guys, is that we need to pay attention to this movie a lot deeper than we actually think, but not for any other reason than realizing that the stars are just as relevant. So let's take that into consideration when looking at Wesley Snipes. And he's well known for, you know, not only the Blade series and a lot of his other action roles, he's actually known very, very well for New Jack City. But that's what's got us here. You know, let's take a look into what's going to take us into the next bit of understanding, and that has to do with a bit of DLC and a bit of connecting a clue that we knew from before, like Street Fighter in 1994. Once again, you guys, Street Fighter, okay?
A 1994 film.
And why it correlates to
Drop Zone.
Okay? A movie called Drop Zone in 1994. Now, I want you guys to understand a bit of what I'm getting at here, okay? You guys, honestly, okay, could have looked at something that I gave you months ago, like Ice-T, understood him deeper, okay? Enough to follow the process, to follow a chain of different clues, leading to a clue that they recently has shown us in DLC. Okay, we could have done this months ago, or we can do this right now and not lose the opportunity that we lost before. Like understanding when we went through everything that we went through in the last 2 episodes to get to Malcolm Jamal Warner. and why he connects. But the fact is that at the end of the day, they're the same amount of clues that have been slapping us in the face, like 1994
and Drop Zone.
The fact is here, you guys, is that we will be running into the grand answer here, because it doesn't necessarily matter which way we look at it, as long as we actually do look at it. Now, what I mean by that, you guys, is that you can keep playing the DLCs when they come out and keep being distracted with the fact that they're throwing answers in your face, but I want everyone who is inclined to want to know about the mystery to understand 80 to 95% of every DLC and every bit of the things that have been implemented into online are all clues as to what we need to look at and how we need to look at it. Every bit of it.